I'm Rob from Barefoot Gaming, and today we review Worlds at War in virtual reality. So what is Worlds at War? Fantastic question. This game is a horde mode game. Your goal is to defend your aircraft carrier from oncoming attacks from aliens, and it doesn't stop. It'll just keep coming. So you can't win this game. This is only a matter of being able to get the highest score. How many aliens can you destroy? That's the gist. This game has very much of an Independence Day feel to it. There's a big mothership that's sitting kind of beside your aircraft carrier that you can't damage. Meanwhile, you've got all these little alien ships attacking your aircraft carrier and the surrounding area, and your goal is just to make it last as long as possible and take as many of them down before you go. Now, you have a slew of different vehicles that you can use to do this. You've got an attack helicopter, you've got an A-10, you've got a fighter jet, you've got a boat, and all of these things you can either play from inside or from third person view. Now, if you're sensitive to motion sickness, you'll want to stick with third person for sure. Cranking barrel rolls while you're trying to dodge shots, or even after you get hit and you're about to crash, your ship will spin all over the place before it hits the water, and that is, I mean, even for someone who plays a lot of VR, it does a lot to my stomach. So there's that, and this is super important, this does not use your VR controllers. So this is available on the Vive, on the Oculus, and Windows Mixed Reality, but none of those controllers are going to help you. You are going to use either a gamepad or a keyboard and mouse. This is a seated game, and I believe joystick, like your regular hot-ass setup or even just a regular joystick, is something that will be implemented shortly. I think he just disabled it because there was a glitch. But again, being early access, that is something that is going to be coming back in. You're gonna lose vehicles, you're gonna lose men. It doesn't really matter except for the fact that when you respawn back on the aircraft carrier, if it's still there, you will have less ships. How do you replenish them? You destroy enemies. So if you destroy enough enemies, your airplanes, your helicopters, your boats, they're gonna start respawning back on the ship, kind of like giving you extra lives, as it were. Aiming is done primarily by looking, so you're flying with your gamepad or your keyboard and mouse, and you are aiming by looking with a reticle, which is basically attached to your VR headset. You blow stuff up, you pick up ammo, you pick up repairs, and you rinse and repeat. That's the game. Let's get to the review. This game at full price is going for $19.49 Canadian. Keep in mind, this is an early access game, that always has to be said, but we kind of have to score and review the game in its current state, because we never know what is going to be changed. That being said, the developer has already proved that he is willing to go above and beyond, and he is working hard to fix issues that people are having with this game. So let's get to some of the pros and some of the cons. For pros, this game is beautiful. The first time I spawned onto the aircraft carrier and I saw the model of my guy in third person running around looking at all the different stuff, this game is really, really pretty. It's hard to believe that one person, one developer made this game, because it looks really, really polished. And I don't mean to overemphasize that, but as good as it may look in your videos that you're seeing, it looks infinitely better in VR. Next up as a pro is the cockpits are very detailed. The models that you're flying are very detailed. They don't look very blocky. Plus you have damage indicators. So if you're inside the cockpit, you'll get the blinking red light. It will actually affect how you fly. If you're outside of the cockpit, you'll also have a damage indicator. So either way, you're gonna know whether you're getting hit. And again, you wanna aim for those repairs, or you can try to land back on the aircraft carrier, hop off and get onto something else if you like. Shooting down enemies in this game is very satisfying because you're actually having to work for it. Now that learning curve is actually pretty tough. So when you hop into an airplane and you realize that you actually have to maintain, you know, over 350 miles an hour to be able to bank your corners without slowing and crashing, it'll feel like the enemy is constantly getting away from you and you're constantly turning and you're never actually hitting anything. So the learning curve is pretty steep, and that will turn a lot of people off. In fact, as a caveat there, I think I should say that if you do decide to give this a try, discount your first 10, 15 minutes, half an hour. Don't get frustrated, just play through and you'll get a better feeling on how the vehicles actually maneuver. Assisted flight is turned on by default. You can turn that off, and that gives you way better maneuverability in all of your helicopters and planes and such. It just makes it way easier to crash, and it makes it way easier to barrel roll and make yourself sick. This game has a bit of a balance issue. Now, the AI still needs work. Again, early access, so I can't hit it too hard for that, but it does feel like the odds are really, really stacked against you to learn how to play in the first place. Now, I'd like to see more variety in enemy ships. I'd like to see more variety in environments. and I'd like to have more variety in ships that you can fly. Now, in ships that you can fly, I know the developer has actually said he's working at adding more planes, more vehicles that you can fly. That's fantastic. So until that's added, that is something that I would say is a negative. Next up, motion sickness. Now, I didn't just play this myself. I did struggle a little bit with motion sickness in this whenever I dropped into first person and was playing within the cockpit. But I had a couple of other people try it, and a couple of them had a really hard time with this game. They couldn't play for more than 10 minutes. So really measure how your level of motion sickness is before you jump into this. That's all I have to say. Now, I love the fact that it is able to be played in single player. There is no multiplayer in this game, and I really wish there was. And I'm not talking massive multiplayer. I'm talking 1 or 2 other people that could be added, because flying around all by yourself, taking on the enemy menace that's attacking your aircraft carrier isn't just frustrating, it feels lonely. You've got all these enemy ships coming at you, and you are one person in an airplane, as well as having automated turrets firing off of the aircraft carrier. But to have someone else that you could actually say, you know, I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna try this, would add piles of emotion to the game that I think it really, really needs. That being said, I also want to be able to destroy the big ships. Let me have my Will Smith moment. Let me fly in there and blow that sucker up. I get as only one ship fighting against a whole fleet of enemies. That's unlikely, but I'd like there to be a way, some way. And I don't care if that means another ship will come down and more enemies and they'll all be tougher, great, but give me some satisfaction. Let me shoot the big mothership. Let me at least see damage in what I'm doing. Those are my complaints. Which brings me to my score. Now, at 1949 Canadian, this will appeal to a lot of people, and for a lot of people, this is just not going to be your cup of tea. So I give this game a 3 out of 5, and I think that's a pretty fair score for what this is. If this sounds like something you're interested in, clearly buy it. If you're sitting on the fence, throw it in your favorites. Keep checking to see whether he addresses those issues. That's it. I'm done. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. If you want to know when our next video is coming out, the only way you're going to know is if you subscribe. Like, comment. I love hearing from you, and I'll talk to you again real soon. See ya.